Forever is a long time, but I mean it. Forever. Here's the deal. I hate clutter, but it wasn't always that way for me. My decluttering journey has had some rocky moments through the years of me second guessing my decisions, going back on my word and keeping things I plan to get rid of. But collectively, if I look at my journey as a whole, the last thing I desire is to live a life that's physically, mentally, and emotionally cluttered when I know that there's something I can do about it. But at the same time, I get it. I understand how it can be extremely overwhelming, not knowing where to start or the first step to take, because I've been there, right? Especially in moments where you're trying your hardest to put a dent in your clutter and make some progress, but it feels like every step forward is 3 steps back. You get a glimpse of hope and some quick wins, but it never seems significant enough. I get it. Which is why I have 2 questions that you can ask yourself that would change the way you look at your stuff forever. And like I said, forever is a long time, but I mean it, forever. The first question I wrote down is this. If I lost this item, would I actively be trying to replace it? If I lost this item, would I actively be trying to replace it? When decluttering anything in our lives, we tend to have a very strong emotion that has this unique power and control over us. And that emotion is doubt. Now, it's okay to have doubts, right? I think at times being doubtful is a part of what makes us human, right? It's okay to be human, so it's okay to have doubts. But we have to challenge those doubts if we want to make progress on our decluttering journey. And really, this is great life advice in general. This doesn't just pertain to the clutter in our lives, but our life in general. If we want to make progress in life, we have to challenge our doubts. But this first question I mentioned is definitely going to challenge those doubts because it's questioning our attitude towards our stuff, not our feelings about our stuff. Let me explain what I mean. The difference between attitude and feeling is attitude comes from your head. Feelings come from your heart. In other words, attitude is an outward expression and feelings is internal, right? Now you can choose whether or not you let your feelings become, affect, or control your attitude. As an example, let's say you lost something and now you feel sad, like, oh my God, I can't believe I lost this. What am I gonna do now? And because your attitude is a composite of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, if you lost an item and now you feel sad, as an example, you might choose to take action towards replacing that item. And the key word here is might, right? And let me explain why I said that. I can count and I can tell you how many times I lost an item or I misplaced an item, whether it was out at a public event or in my own home. And to be honest, part of the reason why I misplaced items in my own home is because I had too much junk to begin with. My home was cluttered, and that was part of the reason why I couldn't find something to begin with, right? But I remember a few times where I lost an item out in public and in my home, etc. And while in the moment, I was very shocked. I was a little bit sad. I couldn't believe I lost that item. I was like, man, this is my favorite thing, or man, I use this all the time. I can't believe I lost that. But what I've noticed is that I never had a sense of urgency when it came to trying to find that item or replace that item. And what that told me is that I never really needed that item the way I thought I needed it. I never used that item as much as I thought I used it. Now, sure, I enjoyed having that item. It was great when it was accessible. And I think that's the thing for all of us. We enjoy our things when they're accessible, when we can easily grab them and use them. But when we lose something or when we think about how we would respond if we lost something, it really changes the context of our relationship with our stuff, right? It really questions whether or not we need those items, right? So if I lost this item, would I actively be trying to replace it? That's the first question. Now, the second question I wrote down is, if someone offered me money for this item, would I be willing to part with it? If someone offered me money for this item, would I be willing to part with it? See, the reality is that money has the power to change the context and outcome of any conversation. As an example, let's say someone asked you to help them with something that you're not really interested in helping them with. Now, you would probably give an excuse not to do it, right? But let's say that same person asked you to help them with that same thing, but this time they told you that they would pay you. Well, you might think twice before responding, right? So the money variable matters, right? The money variable matters. And when we talk about decluttering things in our lives, right, we have to take into account, we have to consider this variable, right? And we have to ask ourselves, would it change my decision? If someone offered me money for this item, would I be willing to part with it? Now, let me say this. If you're willing to sell an item, 9 times out of 10, you're also willing to donate that same item. Now, I understand that there are some nuances to this when we start talking about collections and other valuable assets you have that may make sense to sell. Furniture is a great example because I know in my own personal journey, I've sold some furniture pieces when I was getting ready to move. So there are some cases where it makes sense to sell. However, a general rule of thumb is that this question, right? This question, if someone offered me money for this item, would I be willing to part with it? This question is going to challenge your thinking, and you're going to start to look at everything you own differently. And as a result of that, you're going to start making decluttering decisions from a different place emotionally, right? Because it's like, hey, if I lost this item, my world wouldn't end. Life is going to go on. I'll be okay. And I doubt that I would really be trying to find a replacement. I doubt that I would go out of my way to search for a replacement. If someone offered me money for this item, a few bucks, I might sell it. I might part with it. So then that begs the question of, do I really need this item? Am I really attached to this item the way I thought I was? Does this matter to me the way I thought it mattered? I hope you consider adding these questions to your decluttering journey. And I know that they are challenging, but I also know that they're going to help you the same way they've helped me. Now, I talk about more questions and tools like these in my Clutter to Clarity Starter Kit, which is a program that highlights the exact Olympic routine I followed to get uncluttered completely in my life and start building my life with more clarity. You can get more info about this starter kit by clicking the link below or going to ronaldlbanks.com/starter kit. But hey, I'm rooting for you, my friend. I'm excited for you because at the end of the day, I want you to live a life that's filled with everything that matters to you. Keep growing on your journey, my friend. Keep learning and always remember to stay true to you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.